Thanks, everyone. I'm going to take a seat over there. We're going to actually, this is going to be a unique session this year. It's a little bit different. It's going to follow the model of the popular show Shark Tank. So we're going to have several companies come out and pitch various investment ideas and concepts within the battery material supply chain. And shortly, I'm going to bring up several folks on the investor side that are going to help us evaluate these options, evaluate the pitches and opportunities, and then the audience at the end is going to have the opportunity to participate in the poll to vote on which pitch they find to be the most compelling or who could be the winner. So first, I'm going to bring up Jimmy Gavlin from Gavlin Commodities as one of our sharks in the Shark Tank. Okay. Thanks, Jimmy. And then next up, we're going to have Fraser Perry from Resource Capital Funds. I'm also privileged to welcome Cheryl Brandon, who's the co-managing partner at Quintera Capital. Thanks, Cheryl. You know, if the three of you are mic'd up, maybe before we introduce our first pitch, Jimmy, maybe you can kick it off by just telling us a little bit about your job, what you do currently, and what you're bringing to the Shark Tank today.
Dave, thank everybody for showing up. So here at GavCom, we focus on financing, arranging, financing. We look at non-dilutive solutions, physical link solutions. So our network spans royalty and streaming companies, family offices, clean energy transition funds. And our goal here today, which is in general with our clients, is how can we position them towards these other avenues of financing? How can we raise liquidity, whether it's even something like equipment or other non-traditional sources? And I hope to bring today some insights and some views of what we've seen at looking at pitches this last year in this tough environment, very volatile interest rate outlook with low prices. So the challenge is, how do you differentiate yourself? And that's what we hope to bring to the table today.
Thanks, Jimmy. Fraser, how about you? Tell us about Resource Capital.
Yeah, sure. Look, RCF, or Resource Capital Funds, is a mining-focused private equity fund. It's been around for 25 years and has multiple strategies in the natural resource space. Our flagship private equity fund's there to provide development capital, take projects forward through PFS and onwards. We also have an innovation fund that supports METS investments, mining equipment technology, as well as a private credit strategy and opportunity strategy that's earlier stage exploration.
Cheryl?
Hi, everyone. I'm Cheryl Brandon. I'm the co-managing partner and co-founder of Quintera Capital. At Quintera Capital, we invest in upstream extraction projects across all critical minerals. We also invest in developing the conversion capacity, the critical infrastructure that's required to take these assets that are upstream and integrate them into the battery supply chain. And we also look at new technologies that are advancing. We just closed our first fundraise in November of 2023. The team has a 15-year track record in private equity. We've raised a few $1 billion over the years, and we are really looking forward to hearing the discussions today on the groups who will be presenting.
All right, thanks to our sharks today. I'm going to sit down in a moment, and I want to bring up our first pitch today. It's going to be from Kobe Kushner, who is the CEO of Libra Lithium, and I think fun fact is he used to be a sell-side analyst. I think has a very interesting view into what it takes to be actually running a company and certainly coming at it from the analytical side. But let's hear what Libra has to offer. And Kobe, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. So Libra Lithium is a genuine grassroots spodumene explorer. We're exploring for spodumene in Canada. We're finding it. If there's one thing to take away, it's pay attention to how much capital we've put into the company and what we've gotten out of it. We've been able to stretch each dollar as far as we possibly can. Read this. So just to set the context here, lithium exploration, relatively, historically, has been underfunded. The reason is because we haven't needed to go out and search for new lithium deposits until very, very recently. Gold always gets most funding. Lithium's down there in turquoise. Most lithium deposits, most pegmatites in Canada that are being drilled off today were actually found by accident. Corvette, Patriot Battery Metals, it's now close to $1 billion company. That pegmatite was found in the early 2000s by Virginia Gold Mines. Corvette was a gold project. The Tanko mine, that was a tin project. Greenbushes was even a tin and tantalum project. So when we decided to generate our portfolio and stake ground, we said, let's ignore all known lithium occurrences. We're not believers in closology. What matters is the local geology on your ground. So we took a much more regional approach. Where should lithium pegmatites occur? Stake it and explore it. I'm a mining engineer by trade. Also went into sell-side equity research covering the lithium space. We have a team of geos with master's degrees. We have one guy who's completing his PhD in lithium pegmatite exploration. Our board is backed by the Goodmans. Lots of land to sift through. This actually makes us one of the largest grassroots explorers in Canada. For reference, 90,000 hectares, that's about 15 times the size of Manhattan. So lots of ground to sift through. We prioritize projects that are near rail, near infrastructure. People forget lithium's a bulk product. If you're not near infrastructure, your transportation costs are going to kill you. I will say we like the Thunder Bay area. Network of highways, rail. Thunder Bay is a major port city. You can get to the ocean from there. Just a little lift under the hood. Outdated slide from last year. This is how we prioritize projects. We look at explorability, that is, if there is a lithium deposit to be found, how likely are we to find it and advance it? And then geologic potential, that is the size of the prize. Flanders project, never previously explored for any commodity, ever. So we were going in here pretty blind with a geologic model in mind. Most of Canada is covered in glacial till. This is that rare 10% of Canada where the overburden is this thin. Pegmatites here stick right out of the ground. You could see from Google Earth. That's what that image is showing. First project we staked, also the first project that we found spodumene on. We count 6 new spodumene discoveries in Ontario last year. This was one of them. All-season road, transects the project area, lots of logging roads, 3-hour drive from Thunder Bay. Infrastructure is great. The pegmatite itself, 35 meters wide at least. For reference, most pegmatites being drilled off in Ontario are 5 to 15 meters wide. So our target, we need to look at pegmatites that have spodumene on surface that are at least 30 meters wide. We're always chasing scale. Docker, huge pegmatite outcrops. We think that there is spodumene to be found here. So far we found zinnwaldite, which is a lithium mineral. Great infrastructure here as well. How do you value a company that's so early stage? It would be dishonest to do an enterprise value per hectare type of multiple because not all hectares are created equal. I believe that if you are a grassroots lithium explorer and you're claiming that you're doing grassroots exploration and you're early stage, I think investors are really just betting on the management team. You could say that about any company that's maybe a sub $20 million market cap, that investors are really just betting on the management team. How do you gauge the quality of a management team? Well, how much money have they raised in the last 2 years? Look at that column there. We've raised less than $2 million. And what did investors get out of that in terms of new discoveries? We have lithium mineralization on 2 projects in less than a year, and we did that with less than $2 million raised. If you were to look, it turns out that the average new lithium discovery costs about $4 to $5 million Canadian in terms of capital raise needed to get there. The inverse of that is what I'm calling discovery skill, so that's the number of discoveries per $1 million raised. And I believe that your valuation should correlate to this metric, the discovery skill of the team. We are doing incredibly well. With very little amount of dollars, we've been able to do a lot. If you were to go by this metric and look at the median, not even the mean, the median, you'd arrive at a valuation of $21 million Canadian. We're letting investors in for less than half of that. $8 million, we've kept the story warrant-free to date. 0 warrants outstanding, there's going to be 0 warrant overhang. One last thing, 2 weeks ago. This is the first time I'm announcing this. 2 weeks ago, we hit the fields at another project. We're calling it the Oz Project, brand new spodumene discovery, one of the first ones of Ontario in 2024. 17 new spodumene outcrops in less than 2 weeks. This doesn't happen often. Pegmatite outcrops up to 30 meters wide, spodumene bearing, crystals up to 16 inches long, Only 2% of the project's been prospected to date. We've only spent 12 days there. We're looking at funding to keep going. And that's the story. That's the quick pitch. Thank you. Any questions?
Thanks, Kobe. I think we're going to do Q&A at the end, so we're going to, I think, go through each presenter. But I appreciate you breaking out the props. You're raising the bar for the other presenters today. Yeah.
Thank you.
Next up, I think we can advance slides. We're going to be welcoming Shiba Dawood, who is the founder and CEO of Minerva Lithium. So we're going to be learning a little bit more about the technology side of the business. Shiba, sorry. Welcome to come up. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Shiba Dawood, and I'm currently serving as Chief Executive Officer for Minerva Lithium. And Minerva Lithium is a NC-based company, and we are operating exactly at a space between lithium mining and also the cathode manufacturers. So talking about the demand that we have, so right now, the lithium demand is increasing, and it is expected to reach an increase by 500% by 2030. And this is due to exponential growth of EV industry and also renewable storage. So current lithium refining technology. So what are some of the challenges that we do have? And first thing that comes to us is environmental impact due to the existing technology. And also the second one is the lack of domestic supply, which we all are aware about, where almost US caters more than 80% of lithium, battery-grade lithium from China. So here we are providing lithium refining solution. So our company is a research-based company where we are developing sorbents and taking from different types of feedstock, either from DLE technology or solar evaporation from different types of brine or hard rock eluents or recycled batteries in a way black mass, where we kind of do hydrometallurgy process and then get the eluents and pass through the sorbents. So these sorbents are nanomosaic material, and they have selectivity where we can selectively capture each mineral and whichever is expected. And this technology is proprietary, and we can reach purity more than about 99.5% and very less environmental impact and also cost effective. So this is generally our lithium refining process. So some of our suppliers could be lithium sulfate from hard rock or from battery recyclers, and lithium chloride from lithium brines. And this is where we get the aqueous solution, and we pass through our columns, which has these sorbents present in that. And in first step, we kind of get, so basically what we're doing is we pass the eluent through our sorbents and then get rid of all the impurities so that we get lithium-rich eluent. And then we kind of do thermal crystallization and convert it into battery-grade lithium carbonate. So next, so these are some of our accomplishments, and we have till date, patented, and it is published in US and also some of the international countries like China and India. And we have also received a product certification about 99.6 to 68% purity, and potential letters of support from some of the customers and letters of support from potential investment firms, and also our initial customer Alpha & Corp, which is a cathode manufacturing company. So till date, we have raised about 2 million, and all of this is in the form of non-dilutive funding from state and federal funds. And also we very recently participated in TechCrunch Disrupt, and we were crowned in the first place with 100K. So in this way, we were able to raise about 2 million. So what exact plans that we have and what our ask is, right now we are raising about 5 million so that we get into the pilot scale, and then also looking for some strategic partnership with suppliers so that we get offtake agreement with some of our customers, and some of the opportunities that right now that we have around in NC, around Greensboro, we are having Toyota battery plant, VinFast and Sunlight Batteries starting their operations very soon from 2025, and then also secure $1 million by NSF Phase 2 funding. So this is our team. I'm serving as CEO, and we have David Jackson, who is a former CTO in the water purification company at High Point, North Carolina. And our advisory team has, the team of exceptional people in finance and also in science. Emilie Ratnaika is a professor, and she's serving as Chief Scientific Officer. Vikram Rao, who is a former CTO of Halliburton, is serving as a technical advisor, and Jan Davis is serving as a financial advisor. So here we are, the team of Minerva Lithium. We are innovating towards revolutionizing lithium supply chain by cutting-edge research and development, and we would like to join any one of you join us who could be our suppliers and take our vision forward. Thank you. Any questions, please?
So I actually fumbled the order before, so sometimes the moderator needs some moderation. So we're actually going to go right in the Q&A, and we're going to have to bring Kobe back up later so he gets his due, but maybe we can open it up for some Q&A.
Yeah. So I guess for you, Minerva, I see that you've tapped into some of this government grant, government money. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I feel, as you say, non-dilutive, some of this money will be forgiven, grant type style. That to me is interesting because I think it shows how your team is looking at all avenues of liquidity. So if you could expand on that, maybe is there another program you're looking at for sourcing funds of that nature?
Sure. So to start out with, actually our journey started out with National Science Foundation ICOR program while I was doing my PhD, and that's where I got to do like customer discovery and find the market fit. And that's where, it was an initial step, and we got introduced to National Science Foundation, which supports small business. And they have quite a good, and everyone is getting into this, critical mineral field. And we also have DOE supporting and investing in a lot of startups like us. And we are going to secure the phase 2. And I would really encourage others to get this opportunity.
Thank you.
Question from me is, what's the capital cost to scale this up to a demonstration scale, to commercial scale?
So right now, like I said, we are transitioning to the pilot scale. So right now, to produce 1 metric ton of lithium carbonate, which is $18,000, we are almost, the operational cost that we have to produce 1 metric ton is almost $1,760. So that's where we are, and we need to do some LCA to get the capital cost for the demonstration plant. Yeah.
Question for me, how are you thinking about on the front end sourcing, or maybe you can dive a little bit deeper into the sourcing aspect of the business, as well as partnerships? Mm-hmm. So looking at strategic partnerships across the industry and downstream, what types of opportunities exist?
So like I actually mentioned in my slide, we are definitely looking for suppliers, and that's the reason for me to be at Fastmarket. Because of the IRA inhibitions that we have, we cannot really resource from internationally. So that's where we are looking, where if there's a lithium brine, people who are doing DLE or solar evaporation, we can take their LUN, so they could be one of our suppliers. And also black mass is something that we are expanding, and we have our process in place. Yeah.
I have another quick question. On the market for competition, who would you say are your biggest competitors, and then how do you differentiate your business model from your competitors?
Okay, so basically I would rather not take the name, but right now we have a Canadian-based companies like this space. We really need to think about this. This space is not really as crowded as DLE right now. And we have a couple of competitors, which is good for us. They create market for us. So we do have, and they do electrochemical process. electrochemical process scaling up, there are definitely many challenges, and the electrodes can also decompose, so there are many other challenges. So that's where we stand. And also, I would say environmental impact. The emissions and electricity that goes in. So to make our material, so it comes under a nano material, which is room temperature material, where we can make tons and tons of it, and we do not require any temperature. It's not an energy intensive process. So that way we stand out in terms of competition. Yeah.
Okay, great. One more question for myself. Can you tell us a bit about the IP and what's quite unique about this and how that's protected?
Yeah, so right now we have completely licensed this technology from the university to Minerva Lithium, and it's been published, and we have protected from some of the international countries too. And for the process, so we do have IP on the material, and right now we are filing a continuation IP on the process. And that's going to be done under Minerva Lithium, as right now we have licensed it.
Last one for me. As far as tech, how are you independently verifying those results? Is it, as you said, with the university, or do you have an outside body that would come in? Because again, with tech, there's these unproven technologies, or it may be possible but not at scale. So I'd be curious to see, how do you allay an investor's concern about verifying independently your results?
So this is where some of our companies which are at our levels, at the startup levels, are really useful for some of the validation of our product and also the demonstration. So there are some third-party consulting firms that, have also validated our product and process by one of the startup company. So this is where, that's what, it's a great opportunity to be here because we are not looking to something to replace but complement with other technologies. And that way we are able to validate.
Any questions from the audience at all? Feel free, as folks are presenting, to participate via Slido. You can find the link in the QR code. But if not, Shiba, thank you for your time. We'll bring you back up later, but thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Our third and last pitch this morning is going to be from Emilie Bodoin, the CEO of Pure Lithium. Emilie, please come up. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emilie Bodoin, and I am the founder, CEO, and chairman of Pure Lithium. We are a vertically integrated lithium metal battery company, and you're probably wondering, what on earth does that mean? So I'll give you an overview. We were founded in 2021 in the height of COVID. My timing was great there. And my partner is Professor Donald Sadoway. He's an MIT professor. He was there for 44 years. He sits at the intersection of batteries and metallurgy. He has formed companies, Boston Metal, Carbon Free Steel, Ambry, a liquid metal battery company that was funded by Bill Gates initially, and Total, and a company called SES, which is a lithium metal battery, was spun out of his laboratory. We have over 20,000 square feet, 50 employees. We make batteries and lithium metal electrodes. We are backed by some excellent investors. Oxy Low Carbon Ventures, Occidental Petroleum led our Series A round. Our early investors include Robert Friedland, Ivanhoe Capital Group, Sailing Stone. We have the Energy Capital Group backed by the PIF, Wilson Sonsini Venture Fund, and many others. We have an excellent board of directors, which is very important when you're a young company. We have former governor of Massachusetts, Bill Weld. He's a very seasoned professional director who also serves on many of Robert Friedland's boards. Robert Friedland, again, a prolific entrepreneur and investor, very, very, very famous entrepreneur. And Oxy's joined our board, which is wonderful. So I have a lot of support to build a world-class company. We have lots of great scientific advisors, including ones from our investor Oxy. There's a secret weapon they have called Dr. Robert Zeller. We have Dr. Yuan Go, who is one world-renowned inventor and battery expert, and most people at this conference know him. Ralph Wise, and we also have a head of exploration, he used to be a head of exploration at Rio Tinto for a number of years, and you'll see why it's important that I have one of those soon. We have a robust intellectual patent portfolio. We worked very, very hard for 3 years to build this portfolio, and it includes a joint patent with Professor Stanley Whittingham, who won the Nobel Prize for the lithium-ion battery and invented the battery that we make, the lithium metal battery. He actually invented an Exxon in 1977. So let's get into it. What do we do here? So the lithium-ion battery that everyone has in this room was invented for the Sony Walkman. The power requirements of the Sony Walkman are not very much. Not a lot of current going through that back in the day. And we've used this chemistry that was invented over 40 years ago to put in phones and to put in cars. And we've really reached the theoretical energy density and the max we can get out of it. There's also this problem called global supply chain and geopolitics. So we need to think a lot to get ourselves out of the predicament we're in. I have some very good news for the audience. There's a battery called lithium metal battery that solves a lot of problems. It's a leapfrog in energy density from lithium ion. Again, it was invented by Stan Whittingham before lithium ion, and it will give you 10 times the energy density. So think about how that translates in a system, which we will talk about a little bit later. In our lifetime, we have had 2 batteries that have been commercialized past gigawatt scale. That is lead acid and lithium ion. We need another one. This technology is 40 years old, and no one in this room uses a 40-year-old piece of technology. Lithium metal will supplant lithium ion, much like the vacuum tube did in transistor and semiconductors. So quickly, our battery is lithium metal on the anode. We use a vanadium oxide cathode. Our lithium ion graphite battery, you have 1 lithium for 6 carbon. So by replacing your graphite anode with lithium metal, you get a battery that is half of the size and will last a lot longer, and it's only $50 a kilowatt hour on a materials level. How do we do that? There are other problems with the world that lithium metal batteries solve. We can bring them online very, very quickly. We have a fast electrodeposition process, and we can make a lithium metal electrode from brine in about 20 minutes and a whole battery in less than 2 days. Your traditional lithium ion battery, it takes 587 days and 55,000 miles around the globe. Lithium metal, unfortunately, costs a lot because no one really uses it that much today. It's great in primary batteries, but it's $3,650 a kilowatt hour, and guess what? Your lithium-ion battery today is about 121, so that's not gonna work. So to solve this battery problem, the first thing we had to do was invent a way to make lithium metal on a piece of copper, a real battery electrode, and we did that. We have our friends at E3 Lithium. They bring us some brine that they did their DLE process on. We use electrodeposition to put lithium on a piece of copper through a polymer membrane, and then we put it in the end product, which is a battery. Our battery has no nickel, cobalt, or graphite. If I had more time, I'd say that a few more times. So what is it? It's vanadium. Vanadium is the 5th most abundant transition metal in the Earth's crust. It is more abundant than nickel. It's more abundant than cobalt. And lithium and vanadium are everywhere. So unlike today's wacko supply chain, you can have both sides of the battery, anode and cathode, in the US, in Canada, in places like Saudi Arabia and Australia, and friendly jurisdictions all around the world. Benefit of vanadium oxide, it does not evolve oxygen or display any exothermic behavior. And our Nobel Prize winner friend, Stan Whittingham, has proved that. Your NMCs and your NCAs release oxygen. And guess what, everyone? Oxygen is fuel for a fire, which we just don't need. The other great news I have for you is the battery works beautifully. Vanadium uptakes 2 lithiums for 1 vanadium. You don't see fade. This is a real battery. It's discharged at 1C, that's a commercially relevant charge cycle. We can get 97% capacity after 800 cycles. It's a cheap battery, it's a clean battery, and this is not rocket science. These are just 2 things that had been paired together by lots of different people in industry that never saw commercialization for a myriad of reasons. And now we need a better battery, we need a cheaper battery, and we need a battery that we can make in the United States so we can leapfrog all of our global supply chain problems that we were just unprepared for. So with that, I have gone over time, and I thank you very, very much.
I'll turn it over to our sharks for some questions, and in the audience, hopefully we can get that screen, but feel free to submit some questions as well.
Thank you, Emily. More of a comment, really. I'm impressed by the battery. It almost answers everything, right? Lighter weight, no exothermic reaction, and a quicker processing time. is there a concern about, how about the feedstock? You said you have brines, can you access them easily as you scale up, or is there a challenge in sourcing the material to make the batteries?
So it's a great question. It's a really great question. So when Robert Friedland invested, he said, I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy you a lithium mine. I'm going to get you a lithium brine. We're going to control it, and we're going to marry this great technology to an asset, and that's what we're going to do. But everyone has brine. There's brine all over the world. We actually don't need to own our own brine because they're partners everywhere, right? Our investors just did a joint venture with another company, and maybe, perhaps, if we're lucky, we could get some of that from a joint venture, or our partners at E3 Lithium, who have been giving us their brine for over 2 years. And that beautiful battery you saw that didn't fade, that was made with E3 Lithium's brine. They're not making a commercial product yet, but we can take what they have now and we can make it into a commercial product. So our focus is, we're not terribly concerned about securing a type of feedstock. I can also take lithium carbonate and dissolve it, which is how I wanted to start the company, because that's fairly straightforward and easy. But Professor Don Sadoway said, why would you do that? It's brine, it's aqueous, go deeper. Let's think bigger. And I was kind of like, well, I could get something to market really fast, but here we are. So we really have a myriad of technologies. I'm glad that he kind of pushed that. So we're not necessarily concerned about tying up a brine source today, especially as the price of lithium is falling so much.
I've got a question about the size and application of these batteries. Can you tell us a little bit more specifically where you think they're going to be placed and the growth of those sectors for these applications?
Thank you. So the majority, lithium metal is very well suited for mobile applications because it's so lightweight and you can fit so much more energy. 3,861 milliamp hours a gram in lithium metal and 372 in graphite. So mobile applications, but if we can make this battery so cheaply, it's great for grid storage as well. Really, really excellent for grid storage. So again, this was, if you think back, through history, this was the battery Stan Whittingham invented in the beginning. And it's just a really elegant system. So it has a myriad of applications. We're aiming for the consumer electronic market first, unlike every single other company that has ever tried in lithium metal, because you have to make small batteries before you make big ones when you scale up. And we have something that's pretty ready to go. So why wouldn't we start small rather than aiming for the EV market, which takes a long time? I know that my investors would like to see revenue as early as possible. So that's why we're aiming for the consumer electronic market first. But it's easily translatable, this chemistry, to storage. Very easily translatable.
I guess a follow-up to that, how does it compare to the vanadium redox batteries as well?
It is a completely different battery. Vanadium redox flow battery is a big aqueous battery. The entire system is different in the way that it works. There are pumps, there's a lot of liquid involved, and they're not economical. They're economical in China, which heavily subsidizes them. So it's, we're honestly, my company and Don Sadoway, and I'm a scientist at heart, we're not fans of flow batteries.
And a question for me, where are you at in the validation and testing process of going through commercialization? So how should we think about kind of from here to a point where, obviously there's a lot of unknowns, but you're going through your process. How should we think about pilot testing? And
that's an excellent question. So we're trying to do something that no one's ever done before. So it's going to look a little bit different than everyone else's battery company. And generally what you do in the battery world traditionally, you have to spend about a year of your life making prototypes in an automated pilot line, because you do not make batteries by hand. We do it Pure Lithium because we don't have an automated prototype line, but that's just not what you can do. I can't make a battery by hand that's big enough and ship it to Mercedes to test. It's not relevant commercially. So we have to make a product that is relevant, prove we can do it, and then we unlock all sorts of opportunities with battery manufacturers. So now we send all of them the data and they're like, oh, this is fantastic. Make more cells. The largest cell we've made is a cell phone size, a 12-layer stack. But this is what we do that's different. We make all of our own lithium electrodes. No one else does that. Our competitors buy foil from China and they extrude it onto a piece of copper and they pair it with a lithium ion commodity cathode that already has lithium on the other side of it, your NMC. In fact, it's got 30% extra lithium outside of it. So we're doing something very different with an anode and a cathode. And everyone knows you can do it. People have made lithium metal vanadium batteries, but we have to actually prove that we can do it and send it to customers to test it.
And then one other question, how does the government funding programs that are available, grants, how is that playing into your strategy on accessing funding?
It's a terribly depressing subject to talk about because every investor wants non-dilutive capital, and the government seems to be very excited about handing out non-dilutive capital. But the problem is the Department of Energy, when you take their money, they take your IP. We have all of our own IP, right? We did not spin out of MIT. We invented everything ourselves in the company. So that's an absolute investor deterrent. We are working with a firm and we're exploring some opportunities, but unfortunately, I can't sit here and say there's anything that really fits for us. There's a technology demonstration grant that's available that we are applying for. And hopefully, it won't be onerous, but we've heard onerous stories about people fighting with the Department of Energy for a long time. We don't have money, we can spend our science money paying Wilson Sonsini to battle with the Department of Energy. To get a DOE loan, Jigar Shah told me at CERAWeek, you've got to have $5 million in the bank just for legal fees to get through the thing. When you're a Series A startup and you have 50 people and you're trying to make batteries, you just can't really do it. So we are obviously pursuing it. We've applied for grants in Canada with our partners E3. They're a lot more obtainable in Canada. We don't have to hire a specific program manager. We take DOE money, our entire life chains. I have to segregate a lot of international people that work for us on batteries, and it's a whole management process as well. If there was a DOE check that could just come to us, we would deal with it anyway because it's the dilutive capital. But we can't really compromise on IP. If we can't export the technology because the government gave us money for it, then how do I, yeah, it's a problem.
One last question here about sourcing. I think it's excellent that you've removed cobalt, from the equation, right? Which we all know is a difficult metal where it's extracted. Have you have investors or partners? Are they sort of responding to that? Because I think sourcing is a major issue. It's a problem, and you're providing a solution, specifically for that metal.
Yeah, I'm going to be just completely transparent with everyone in the room. This was a bonus. We were trying to get a chemistry that worked because we needed a non-lithiated cathode to uptake all of the lithium, and there really aren't any options that'll work besides vanadium that have the voltage that you need, that'll get you there, that are readily available and inexpensive. So I feel like for the first time in our business life, the story and the battery came together, but it was really a bonus. So I believe investors are responding, right? Everyone is very happy to hear about no cobalt and no nickel. And Stan Whittingham, again, who lithium cobalt oxide, right? He was like, we just had to make something work back then. No one was thinking about it. So I think, especially in today's time and age, investors are, it does absolutely resonate.
Thank you.
But at the end of the day, the battery has to work. It's got to be better than we have today, and it has to be cheaper. So all that's very important. You got to hit it all, I think.
I know we have some questions from the audience that maybe we can take. You can choose out of your three, Emilie, but I know a lot of folks would be interested to hear just some of the challenges around scaling up and engineering. I know you've highlighted in the past, obviously, the challenges of handling lithium metal, and I'm curious how you guys have sort of overcome that in the last couple of years.
Oh, well, it's fantastic. So, handling it, shipping it around, you've got to coat it in mineral oil, it comes out, and that's a whole honking problem. So we have our patent that just issued. It's actually called vertical integration of pure lithium metal and battery. We make it just like cathodes are made, right? We make the electrode in the battery manufacturing facility, which is a dry room. So brine isn't going to react with anything. That's absolutely fine. But our major issues with scale up is that we're a technology startup of scientists, and we have to build a management team from industry, and that's what we're doing right now. We brought on a COO from industry who's an executive from Corning. We have to hire people from industry that have actually built lithium production reactor cells before, and this is why Oxy Low Carbon Ventures is wonderful. They have a specialty chemical business, and I can pick up the phone and say, can you help me figure out this one little problem? And you know what, they get back to me really quickly. So we're actively looking to hire experienced people, and if there's anyone in this room that is excited by what we're saying or knows somebody who's an engineer that can actually build things, reactors and things, and help design engineers. We're all set on physicists and chemists and battery people, but we need scale-up engineers from the lithium space. I'm looking at some of my friends in the audience that I want to come join our team right now. Let us know. And that's the challenge. So we're going to scale with partnerships. I'm just going to echo Bob Galen's sentiment. We have to stack technology together, and we have to use partners, which is exactly what we're doing.
I know some folks are asking about what Pure is looking for right now and what the ask is for the path forward. but you just highlighted you're happy to hire people, so it doesn't need to just be money. So I guess, can you give us a little insight as to what's next for you all and what you're looking for? Obviously, you've had a successful funding round. You have like a very attractive partner, obviously, with Oxy and some visibility around securing more feed over time with that. So what's sort of next for you on your punch list?
My job is I don't get to do science anymore, right? My job is fundraising for the foreseeable future, okay? So if anyone wants to participate, find us and we'll let you know when a new round is open and how you can participate. Because as you can imagine from my speech, right, it's going to take a lot of capital to deploy this and we're going to need a lot of investors. And unfortunately, we're not going to disclose our valuation in a public audience, but you can come to us, and we're really happy to have good investors. Is the cost of vanadium and the current market availability of vanadium concern? Absolutely not. And I point to our expert who was at Rio Tinto for years and years as head of global exploration. We know where all the vanadium is. We know where all the projects are. Vanadium is used as an additive in steel, and it's used in the vanadium flow batteries. We use a fraction of it. We use less than, the vanadium flow battery uses 10 times the vanadium that we do, and it has to be a lot purer than the vanadium that we do. There's a company in the United States called US Vanadium. They are the world's largest producer of secondary vanadium. Vanadium is easily recycled. It's all over. If every car on the planet were going to have vanadium, we would need several more vanadium mines, but we're not really there yet with electric vehicle sales. Again, it is the 5th most abundant transition metal in the Earth's crust. It's just that battery people don't know what it is, because in lithium-ion world, there are only a few elements on the periodic table, and those are graphite and nickel and manganese and cobalt.
All right, Emilie, I think we're at time, but I appreciate it. And we're going to go through some of the review a bit later, but at this point, we'd like to bring Kobe back up because I didn't give him his due with some Q&A. So thank you very much, Emilie.
He likes them. So thank you. Thank you for the questions. Thank you very much.
Sorry about that, Kobe. Yeah.
It's okay. Thanks for having me back.
We can jump into questions. Hopefully everyone remembers that they've had 2 successful discoveries and they announced the recent Oz. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Great. So maybe I'll kick it off. So if you can just refresh us on the total capital raise and then provide a bit more insight into the use of proceeds.
Sure. So to date, we've raised $1.8 million. We've received $200,000 from the Ontario government as grant money. We are asking for $6 million. The use of proceeds are as such. We want to spend $2 million working across Flanders as well as Docker. We believe even for just $300,000 that we can make at least one more spodumene discovery at Flanders. And we want to take that to an eventual drill program, and we think we can achieve that. For our Oz project, we want to spend a lot more money there. The reason being is because in the span of 12 days, we believe we found more spodumene than what was found in all of Ontario last year combined. And I could sleep well at night saying that while sounding promotional, because I truly believe that's the case. You can kind of gauge the size of the prize with lithium by looking at it on surface. You can get a size of how big the exposure is and how big this deposit's going to be, how it's going to grade, even before you assay it, just based on the percentage of lithium that is in the outcrop. So we want to spend $1 million doing LiDAR as well as magnetic survey. 95% of this project is undercover, which leaves an ocean of opportunity. So we've only prospected about 2% of this thing over those 12 days. And then we want to have $2 million worth for drilling.
You've been very successful to date with the pegmatites you've found. I think with a pre-resource company, we always look to see how credible the team is and their track record. Can you tell us about the track record of yourself and the exploration team prior to this?
Sure. I mean, look, I've spent most of my career underground. I've seen mines go into production. I was there when Detour declared commercial production. Maybe this isn't a good talking point for my resume, but I've also seen mines fail. And I think that's been honestly the best learning experience, seeing what doesn't work. The point is that in my previous life, I was able to see what does an economic deposit look like, which is very pertinent to what we're doing now, because we're sifting through a lot of ground. If something doesn't have economic potential, we're not going to bother. So 10-meter wide pegmatites, unless these are tightly stacked, we don't care. As far as our team goes, Ben Kuzmik, VP of Exploration, he made a gold discovery. That was at Lynn Lake, which is now Alamos Gold. So he found the Little Wing occurrence. They mentioned his name in the press release as the guy that found it. Obviously, it's always a team effort. But that led out to Alamos taking out Carlisle Goldfields. On our board, we have David Goodman, who successfully championed Dundee Wealth, sold that off to a major bank in 2011 for $2.3 billion. Mark Goodman, as well, has had several successes throughout the Canadian junior resource space.
Thank you.
Kobe, I see, tell us a bit about the funding for the next phase. I noticed a recent press release that you were able to source some money from sort of the government that we've talked about thematically throughout this session. So I'd like to hear more about that. And also, is there a next level that you can obtain similar type of funding? And then finally, have you gotten any love from the banks? You know what I mean? This is my third year at this conference consecutively. Year one, there were 2 banks. Today, thankfully, there's Scotia, National Bank of Canada, you have Macquarie Bank. Have you felt any of the sort of that interest? Because I think we can't move forward without more bullion commodity banking participation.
Sure. So I'll answer the first part of your question. The $200,000 grant money is from the Ontario government. It's a great program. It supports junior explorers that are, I believe they have to be below a $100 million valuation in order to qualify for it. You can apply it to one project. What they do is they refund up to 50% of your exploration spend, up to $400,000. So as long as you're spending $400K at a project, they will refund you up to $200,000. If you spend $300,000 at a project, then they'll refund you $150,000. And this happens every 6 months, assuming that it continues. So we have already applied for the next inbound for grant money on that. They do prioritize critical mineral projects as well, as opposed to gold exploration. Second part of your question, refresh me. Okay, the bankers. Yeah, you're right. When I was here, the first time I was here 2 years ago, I used to work at a bank. And that bank's not here today. A lot of the bankers are very momentum driven. So when lithium's hot, they all come to these conferences and they want to finance everything. And then, lithium falls out of favor, and then it's all about uranium, and people don't start to ignore lithium. And I agree with you. I think we do need more long-term support from the bankers, because honestly, there hasn't been that much. One of the challenges with us is that we are private. And bankers typically like dealing with public equities. It's easier for them to go out and raise money from retail as long as there's better liquidity. So we're seeking more long-term strategic partnerships. We're looking for an older sibling that's able to help fund our exploration, and then they can benefit from that. And we're small. So between the top 3 shareholders, and I'm one of them, we own more than 50% of the stock. And we have, which means that we can make decisions very quickly, and we can be very creative in how we structure deals.
When you're thinking about the strategy going forward, you've obviously, put together this incredible portfolio of lots of assets, and they're prospective in nature. So when you do start to go down the path on developing a specific asset or a few specific assets, how are you thinking about your portfolio? Are you wanting to be a prospector where you continue to have that aspect of your portfolio as well as a development focus?
My philosophy is this: you never rely on a takeout. Never rely on a sale of your assets or a sale of the company, because if you're going to be advancing things and marketing your project using overly optimized PEAs and overly optimized resources, if no one goes to buy you out, you're going to have to put that into production yourself, and you're going to be building a mine off an overly optimized feasibility study, and it's not going to work. And I say this as someone that came from the field. When you rely on a takeout, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. You have to develop things as if you are going to be developing it yourself, which is why the first thing we do, we prioritize our relationships with the local communities. You know, we have Andrew Best in the audience, our manager of Indigenous Relations. It's the first thing we do is we reach out to these local communities. The other part of my answer is that it's going to depend on the market. Right now, sentiment is so bad in the public equity space that you can drill an amazing intercept, and the market's not going to reward you for it. So why do it? Why drill? So I think I'd like to drill, but it's going to depend on who it is that's cutting us a check. If someone wants us to drill with that money, then great. What we're looking for is someone to say, look, here's your first check. If you can achieve this, this, and this, and this, we're here for the next check.
Any other questions? Kobe, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
So I think now we've heard from our three presenters. Our sharks have asked questions. I think we're going to put this out to the audience poll now, where you can vote on the most compelling pitch that resonated with you. And I believe that there is some sort of award for the winner here that's going to be featured in one of Fastmarkets publications. So thank you to all of our sharks and all of our panelists.
Yes, of course.
So we got like 30 votes, 32. Keep climbing. There's definitely more than that in this room. So. Mm-hmm. All right, I think we're at a point where we can call it for from Emilie Bodoin of Pure Lithium. So thank you. Thanks again, everyone. Thanks to my sharks that were up here. Thanks for participating and for all the Q&A.
Great.